Minecraft Snapshot 26.3 Snapshot 3 has just dropped, and with it has come two new interesting blocks, well, more like 17. In this update, we have 16 new wool cushions, which we will get into in a minute, and just behind me over there, the straw bed has finally made it to the game. Now, the new blocks, what are they? What do they do? Well, the straw bed is pretty straightforward. You can only sleep at night, but it does not set your spawn point. It is also one-time use. You use it, it's gone. Placement rules, it can float, and it can definitely be used for some thatched roofs or some designs. Definitely pretty cool. It also is a pretty simple crafting recipe. You just take 3 hay bales in a row, just like you would make a slab, and you get 4 sleeping bags, or in this case, straw beds. Now, the cushion. The 16 variants are all associated with a different wool color. Now, with that wool color, you can really go all out. It's a pretty simple crafting recipe. You're just going to take your slab, your wool slab of any color, place 3 in a row, just like you would to make the slab in the first place, and you get a cushion. Now, the cushion is awesome. Unlike the bed, which is one-time use, you sleep, it's gone, you can sit down. And you can do this forever and do whatever you want. Enjoy a seat for the first time in 17 years if you've been playing that long. But this block has some hidden features, some exciting features I want to get into now. One of those features is definitely to do with placement. So we're going to type a cushion here. We're going to pick our favorite color. I'm going to go for green. The cushion can be placed on any flat surface, so we can obviously place that on blocks, but what we can do is we can also place that on any variable height flat block, which we can make pretty custom chairs and furniture that way. So we can have variable heights depending on the size of our tables, but this really fixes a long time problem with building is we put our chairs, like I'm sure a lot of people remember when we used to build tables like that. Well, now, it's actually not that insane to sit at that table. I can actually see across it. Now, that is a cool feature. With variable heights, we obviously have our slabs and stairs. Now, stairs are where things start to get interesting. So let's start with the slabs. Boom, just the same as those before, but boom. It actually places half the cushion, or I believe it's the full cushion, it just doesn't render it, underneath or on top of that little bit of geometry there. And we can, yes, in fact, sit on it just like regular furniture. So chairs have effectively come to Minecraft. That is amazing. But there are a few more placement rules that I want to get into. It says we can place it on any supported block, typically a flat surface, so this might change, but we can place it on top of the walls just like that. Now, the reason I'm using walls as an example is they have actually different heights when you can place things down. So we have our upward height and our lower height. So if I were to place it on this upper height here, we're actually going to see that it creates this little archway. Now, this could be cool for definitely some perspective building, especially if you're building in the distance and you want some different shapes. You can do a lot with this. However, if you go to the other side and use this little portion right here, it'll actually stay on the same height. So it's based on where you place it. Now, one of the rules says these blocks cannot be inside each other. And there's going to be a few examples of that coming up. Now, over here is an example of another thing the cushion can be used for. We've already determined that we can put cushions on top of things. But what about underneath? And to answer that question, we can. The cushion is an incredibly versatile block. Now, I use the head as an example because custom head blocks are more useful than ever. We can use this to display things like in a museum or do interesting things like that that will really showcase and highlight certain builds. With our fences, we can also place on top, so you can actually have this weird kind of table design almost. Of course, with our head, we can also give them a little hat. Now, one of my favorite new features, which I really hope they keep, is we can now give our little golem friend a sombrero. Oh my god, it is fantastic. Over here, we have some different examples of chains. Now, what can we do with the chains? We can place under the chain. We can place on top of the chain. Now, you cannot place any of these blocks vertically on the side of blocks at all. It requires support. You manually have to click on the block that you want the cushion to show up on. Of course, that includes the top of that. So you can have quite interesting things. Again, you only need a supporting block. Now, with this, you can actually create pretty interesting stairs, just like over here. We have a new stair block, but you may notice there are no collisions. So with that, you have to keep in mind that it won't visually look as nice. It is not quite the same as a slab. Some other things we can do is we can take this little flower block, we can place a bit of green, and it kind of makes it look like we have a lily pad on land. So you can do a lot of custom stuff. You can maybe even put this on the water and create some custom looks there. We can also place them under things like sugarcane, on farmland, and under crops. Now, there's going to be a use case for this on builds where you're hiding things, like hiding the fact that there's a gap between the block and the water to kind of make it look a little bit better. One of the coolest parts is farmland. We can place 2 blocks down. We can place our blocks on top, our little cushions, and you'll notice that it's actually at the lower height, just like that. But if I were to jump on it, it'll raise it up. Now, it says the blocks cannot be moved. And obviously, look, we just saw grass grow under it. I think that rule will change. And that was a perfect example. As the block state changed, the block will update visually. Again, any block placed at the base here of, say, another, like the shelf, it will fill that gap. But another cool thing about the shelf is it's also like the wall over there. There is another hitbox right there that if I place, I can almost place 2 there. 2 on top of each other. Kind of looks like a duck. Oh, that's cool. Just give it some eyes. Give it like a little, like one of those bill things. Like, oh my god, what if I... Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my gosh, this is it. This is it. Oops. This is what I play Minecraft for. I hope they keep Mr. Duckface in the game. Holy. Another example of this block type is the anvil. So we could place on the ground, which will cover the base, but we still have access to this base. So we can actually place it right there and create a 2-high thing. Now the anvil is really exciting. With the anvil, we can create things like custom rails. Now before we had rails, but they weren't as accessible. They looked bulky, they looked big. Like, a rail is not that tall. But with that, we can hide the fact that it isn't that tall. And it just looks like it's a little bit indented. Now, with the black, it does look a little bit better. Just like this. But you can use any color you want. Especially if you want 2 different colors on top of each other. The builder in me has never been this excited. I thought the shelf block was cool. This is incredible. Now, the real hidden features. We have 5 blocks here. We're going to start with the one that's not so hidden. These ones are pretty obvious, but I just thought they were so cool. We can take our little cushion here and place it on top. It almost looks like a little lid, which I honestly think is really exciting. And the same for the pot. You can place it, make it look like it's supported. It's got a little cushion, little pot to grow. That is awesome. These blocks are the really big ones. Now, underneath the bed is one of those little gap blocks that you can fill. And if you right click on the cushion, you can actually sit up in bed. Now, that seems like the feature, but there's a bug right now. And a bug that I hope they allow on beds and trapdoors and certain blocks like it. If I dismount the bed, I am actually inside of it. I am glitched inside the hitbox. And if I press shift, I will end up in my little hidden hole here where I can hide away from the baddies. Now, I can hop out there just like that, but this would be amazing for hidden bases in PvP, creating traps. You could lure someone to your base just to sneak up on them. They'll never know you're there. And it just takes this, and it can easily be hidden by a trapdoor. Especially if you put the trapdoor the wrong way. You can slip in there, close it, and you're there. That is so cool. Okay, and this is the hidden feature. We've made it to that part of the video. What is the hidden feature? I told you can place hitboxes like that. Now, this one doesn't really have a bottom. But that's not the cool part. You can hit any of the pixels in here and place the cushion at any height you want. Now, it's less exciting for Bedrock players in the Cauldron, but this works for not only that, but it works for the hopper. You can now make the hopper look like it's dispensing something. That is a game-changing feature for building. And I know there's ways to visually change a texture through commands. So adventure maps could have potion-making minigames. And the same goes for the composter. You can fill that up just like that. This block has already changed the way I think about building. There are so much potential here. Now, as long as we aren't just getting blocks like this where it has to be a full block to place, and we can place on, say, a head or a golem, or even on a fence, we have a ton of potential. Now, the one thing I am worried about this hidden feature is it could be a bug. This could be accidental, because in reality, why can I click all the way on the vertical side of this cauldron? I don't know. And frankly, I don't want to know. I just want them to keep it. So if you are working for Mojang, or if any of you share this video, please share my sentiment that they keep this feature. This is amazing. There are so many more blocks, so we're actually going to hop into an actual testing world, the world I tested with my friend to find out most of these features, and I'm going to show some of the ones I missed. Alright, so this is our little world we were testing in. We built quite a few example builds. We did got a wandering trader. We had a bunch of kind of epiphanies and amazing moments. This, at night, is a functional light source. This could be used in houses as chandeliers. This is beautiful. And it hides the fact that there's even a light there in the first place. This also accounts for daylight sensors. So if I break this, I hid some redstone underneath. Now you'll notice that there is charge there. If I flip it, it'll actually power through the block. So the block doesn't block light. This block is also amazing because if I were to break this, I have some string here in my inventory. If I were to place this and then cover it, you get a one-time trap use. It never resets. And it's functionally hidden. So if you're not paying attention, or even if you just have a couple blocks in it like this, you could walk right over a tripwire and never see it coming. We just messed around. We tested different cushions on, say, scaffold. You can have scaffold that goes like this. And because there's no collision, this is still fully functional. So visually, you can make it just look a little bit better. You can also place it on each section of the bamboo, and the bamboo will grow. It will grow through this. I don't actually know if bone meal works. There you go. So you can functionally create cool towers. Now, this is one of the features I expect to be deleted. I do not think this is going to work. However, it is cool nonetheless. Things like stonecutters. I imagine that they can keep this. I feel like that is just visually quite cool. Don't know what the use is. Kind of looks like a silverfish. I'm sure someone will use that in the background of a build sometime. And with the chairs, like, oh my gosh. And I just have a turtle hat on for some reason. I love that. I also built this little crib that you can sit in as a little baby and be like, hey man. Bathtubs. You can waterlog this. You can waterlog this block. And you can make functional baths that you can sit in. This is a game changer. No more minecarts. No more boats. We just have what we want. This block has changed the way I will play and build in Minecraft. I just hope that they actually stick through and keep a lot of these features. I can understand some of these don't make sense. Some of these block placements are a little rough, especially the bamboo one where it grows right through it. but I love the freedom. And I really hope that the cushion stays this way. Now, the only thing I do hope changes is that the cushion maybe breaks a little faster. That is a really slow break time. Thank you all so much for watching. If you would like to subscribe, please subscribe. And also, if you want to just subscribe to my friend, he's about to start a YouTube channel. It'll be linked below. His name is Prague. Bye.